bunch more folks on the call, so I think we probably have all the agencies that were awarded funding in this round on the call. We'll do a roll call here in a minute anyway. So once again, thank you for taking some time out of your day to set the mandatory technical assistance meeting. We appreciate your willingness to do so. So with that, let's head on to the next slide, Cameo. This is the Community Development Block Grant CARES Act technical assistance. Here on our end, we've got me, Jim Atz, the Community Development Administrator. I have some other staff members who will introduce themselves right now.
Hello, my name is Meredith Burkett, and I'm the accountant for OH&S. And I'll be talking about the claim process once we get to those slides.
Hello, my name is Cameo Perry. I'm a CD specialist here for OH&S. Just here to help.
More than just that, Cameo. Come on. All right, let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is actually my favorite of the meetings. You know, the meeting where the pre-application is okay, but it's this application because you all are in really good moods because you guys got funded, right? So you're very attentive to all the rules now, and it's unfortunate this is the first one I've had to do that is virtual, because usually I like to see everybody in our big conference room upstairs, and we hand you big packets of paper and we go over everything, and we can call everyone out in order as they sit in a big U up there in those rooms. But in this case, we're doing it virtually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call out the agencies as they show up in our press release that I believe will be released. If it hasn't been released yet, it'll be released here soon. Today, we always we appreciate you folks holding off on releasing press releases until we're able to do so. So I'm going to call out the agency, and if the folks from that agency could introduce themselves, we'd appreciate it. The first agency on the press release is Wellspring. If anybody from Wellspring on the line could unmute and introduce themselves. Nobody. Okay. Well, we will move on to the next group. The next group is Amani Family Services. All members from Amani, if you could please unmute and introduce yourselves.
Hi there, this is Erin McCarthy. I'm the Grant and Donor Relations Specialist from Amani Family Services. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Erin. We're happy to have you with us. Okay, the next group on the list, and these are in no particular order, just the way our public information officer placed them in the press release, is the YMCA of Greater Fort Wayne. If you could unmute and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Carla Nunez. I'm the grant proposal writer at the Y.
Carla.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Saunders. I am the Executive Director for the Child Care Services Branch.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, fantastic.
And I'm Chris, the president of the Y.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Healthier Moms and Babies.
Hi, this is Paige Wilkins, the Executive Director of Healthier Moms and Babies.
Hi, Paige. How are you?
Good. My accountant, Emily, is on the phone. Emily.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, Emily. We always love when accountants can show up for this meeting. There's a lot of accountants speak.
Happy to be here.
The League for the Blind and Disabled. Is anyone from the league on the call that introduce themselves? Okay, going back to the later. Okay, Health Visions Midwest. Is anyone from Health Visions Midwest on the call?
Hi, this is Sharon Tubbs. I'm the Director of Health Visions Midwest.
Hi, Sharon. We're excited about working with your agency for the first time. This is going to be great.
Yeah, thank you so much. A quick question. I don't have someone from our finance team here. Would it be okay if I just sent them the recording?
That'll be, we're going to do is this is being recorded and it'll be put on our website or our YouTube page of one of the two, depending on the size. And we'll make sure that everyone has access to it. And if there's somebody on or someone that should have been on that couldn't make it, they can access it at a future date for sure.
Thank you so much.
And let's see here. Community Transportation Network. Is anyone on the line from CTN?
Yeah, hi, I'm Justin Klepper. I'm Executive Director at CTN. We also have our Director of Administration, Ann Hall, and our accountant, Stephanie Harder.
Well, thank you, CTN team. I owe you folks a phone call to maybe talk about maybe how a national objective kind of statement in the how we can just refine a couple things, but you're on our list. We're happy to have you guys on the team, and I'll be reaching out to you early next week to talk through a couple things so we can get your program rolling.
Sounds good.
Let's see here. We've got the chat's always available. This format's pretty informal. It's a small group, so anything hits your mind, please speak up if you have any questions, or you can put it in the chat. You can unmute and ask the question. Again, it's an informal kind of thing, and it looks like we do have representation from Wellspring on the line. Just the mute button must be broken there. You can't get the mute button to work, but thank you for joining us, Wellspring. Okay, so here's our agenda for today. We already went through the welcome and introductions. A lot of this is going through the contract to let you folks know what's in there, hitting some of the highlights. I'm not going to read all 25 or whatever so pages it is. We're going to hit some highlights. We're going to talk about what some of the sections mean, which sections are more important than others. All are important, but some are more important. We're going to talk about client eligibility. That's a big deal with all this stuff. Definitely a HUD sends us these monies to do good things for eligible clients. We're going to talk about payments. I'm going to hit over payments high level real quick, and later on in this technical assistance, Meredith is going to get into the nitty gritty so that we can try to make sure that there are no delays and that reimbursement claims come in. They're nice, they're neat, and we can turn those things around quickly so we can make you guys whole, reimbursed for your expenses. We're going to talk about the general conditions and administrative requirements. That's going to be when we come out to monitor. That's going to be the section we're pulling stuff from. That's going to be the HUD speak, CFRs, and other things. I'm going to be a broken record. I'm going to keep saying there's this thing called 2 CFR 200. This is the first of probably 30 times you're going to hear me say 2 CFR 200. That's the big code of federal regulations that really oversee all that these contracts have in them. So that's a big one to jot down, 2 CFR 200. Claim submission, that's going to be where Meredith takes over and is going to walk through some amazing details. A couple of you, we've requested either a revised budget to kind of put some costs and categories that are more conveniently reviewed. And we've also asked a couple of you folks for clarification on a couple types of categories, and all have done really amazing and have gotten those things back to us. A couple grantees, we weren't able to award your entire request, but we did submit some documents to you so that you could refine your budgets, refine your goals, so that we can fit them into our program nice and neat. And then we'll end with some questions and answers if there are any remaining. Okay, these contracts, these CDBG-CV contracts, are just like all of our other contracts. They basically have 3 or 4 attachments on them that are important. Your application, we put that on as just number 1, or letter A attachment exhibit of this agreement is just you explain to us what you were going to do, and that's going to be what we judge you against, is what you said we're gonna, whether you did what you said you were gonna do. So that's why it's the first and the biggest attachment, the biggest exhibit is A, your application. B, budget. Again, we're always looking back at that budget when it comes to the costs that you incur and want reimbursement for, that there were costs that you included in the budget that you submitted with your application. And these budget categories that are important are also the categories that are funded with other funding. So we review these programmatically. So when you submit an application for a program called Safe Rides to School or whatever it is, and it's a $300,000 program, but you only come to us for $500,000 or $50,000 for it, that entire program is tracked on your end and is something that we may ask to see documents for. So our funding, once it hits a program, CDBG funding and other funding, we want to, all that stuff is held to the same standards, if that makes sense, when we talk about all these rules and regulations. And then CDBG program goals, is that what that one is? CDBG program goals, again, we're always looking to see, we tell HUD, when we put you guys in our big funding system, we put a note in there that here are what your goals are. With this investment, it's going to result in this kind of beneficiaries, and we're always tracking that. So here, the contract is broken out into lots and lots of sections. We had a great legal team put this together, so that's why there are so many sections in this agreement. All of them are important, but the ones that are in bold are the ones that I'm going to have additional slides on. But you all have the agreements we sent to you last week. The sections that are not bolded, I'm just going to real quick maybe point out a couple things that are important. In the definition section, that's where you're going to find out what your award amount is. That's in letter D. Right there is clearly stated what it was that your CDBG-CV award was. Time of performance, section 3. In there, you'll clearly see that we have a program time of performance for the program. They're all based on your applications. Some, I think the Y, your program performance started on January 1. Everyone else's is, I think, is January 29th. And the end date was based on your funding application. So please take a look at that section for that important information. Section 4, amount of award. Because of 2 CFR 200, there it is again, we have to put out in these agreements a number that may be cumulative. Some of you folks have additional federal funding from us. So you may read part 4 and you may see a $500,000 number or some number that is well beyond what this program is. That's because we are capturing for 2 CFR 200 noting all of your federal awards. So that is what that section kind of talks about. 5 is your budget. This talks about how important the attached budget is. And section 6, I'm going to have a slide for that particular section. The rest of the other areas we're either going to talk about more in depth, or the sections themselves are just self-explanatory and there's no need for me to hit on any additional stuff. So let's move on to the next slide. Eligible activities. This is a biggie. There's 4 slides on this section here. So HUD has many different ways to have CDBG eligibility. And there are 3 different kind of ways that all these categories fall into. But every one of your applications, we've reviewed every one application, and all of the applications fall into benefits low to moderate income persons. So every application we funded is that category. CDBG allows us to fund other things that beyond that, but like aid and prevention of slum and blight and urgency needs. Although, COVID is kind of an emergency, but everything that we're funding here is that benefits low to moderate income individuals. So it's kind of important to note that you all have the same client eligibility. So you're going to ask yourself, what is low to moderate income individuals? And so here is one of the ways that we would determine low to moderate income individuals. So some of your programs are going to not be focused on a particular population of people, but may just be focused on the in general, residents in general. So if your program doesn't have a special group, which we'll talk in the next slide, you're looking at this AMI chart here. So you're running programs for individuals at or below 80% AMI. So for example, if I had a program that was a program for individuals who need job training, let's say they need additional job training, I would be looking to serve people who at or below 80% AMI. So as a single person, I walked into your office and said, I want to sign up for job training because I'm underemployed. I need some technical assistance. You're going to pull out a client profile form. You're going to put in my information, and you're going to ask me to sign or to circle my number of people in the household, in this case 1, and how much my current income is. And I'm going to circle that I make that I'm at 39,850 and below. And that's kind of how this goes about. That person's identifying their income range. So that is for programs that are open to all folks and not just a particular subset of populations that we'll speak about here soon. Okay, again, building on this understanding client eligibility. Lots of programs serve groups of populations that are called generally presumed to be low to moderate income individuals, and they're on this list here. So if your program is designed to help these groups here: abused children, battered spouses, elderly individuals, homeless persons, illiterate adults, severely disabled adults, persons living with AIDS, and migrant farm workers, those populations of folks are already by HUD determined to be low to moderate income individuals. So you aren't demanding that they be at or below a certain income level because of their status in one of those groups that HUD has identified. Some of you folks may run a program that serves an area that at least 51% of the people in that area are at 80% AMI and below. Now we have plenty of maps in our community that show where these areas are at. So if I'm running a food bank in a census tract that HUD has determined as a qualified census tract, all the folks that come to my food bank from that census tract are presumed to be low to moderate income individuals because they live in that census tract. So we have lots of maps to help programs determine that eligibility. Let's see here. There are eligibility requirements that limit the activity exclusively to low to moderate income persons. Let's say we were running we had a public housing development, and we were running a child care facility in that public housing complex, and it was only open to residents of that complex. So now we would know that we have an activity that is limited to only low to moderate income individuals because we're only working with residents of that public housing complex. So there's lots of different ways to document this, that you're serving an eligible clientele, and we will gladly work on a one-on-one basis with any agency that has any questions about whether or not they're capturing that properly.
I actually have a quick question.
Sure.
So you had mentioned earlier that a lot of these requirements are for the CFR 200, the federal audit.
Mhm.
And so when you come in and review our records, so you can turn it in for your audit, what are you exactly looking for from us for documentation that we're meeting that income eligibility? So for instance, like us, we Medicaid eligibility is our criteria. I mean, can we just pull a simple report from our database, or do you actually want to see something similar to that table?
What we would say is, since you are only assisting Medicaid, is this Medicaid eligible populations? Is that what you said? So
Yeah.
you have a program design that limits the eligibility of your program to people who are low to moderate income individuals. So your program design already sets yourself up to prove that you are assisting eligible populations. So yeah, you probably document your files with, here's our program design per our application, Medicaid individuals, and here's some documentation that those folks are, receiving Medicaid, whatever that may be. So when we monitor you, we may say, send us a list of all some type of unique identifier of your clients, and you send us, client A through client F, and we'll say, send us your copy, a complete file with sensitive information redacted of client B, C, and F. And then in that B, C, and F file, we'll see that, there's some type of proof that person was Medicaid or eligible, and your program design says they were limited to only those who are eligible for Medicaid. Does that make any sense?
It does. So basically, a Medicaid number would be sufficient.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And the last of these client eligibility is the activities are of such nature and such location that it may be reasonably concluded that the clientele will presumably be low to moderate income. So a lot of times, like a food bank is an activity that it's presumed that if you are reaching out and attending a food bank, that nature of that activity is that you are low to moderate income. Now, we want to document lots of things. It's not just a food bank has to do documentation as well, but it's an activity that has ways to show the eligibility. So again, lots of different ways. We are here to walk through all the eligibility stuff with you folks to make sure that your files are complete and compliant. Let's go on to the next slide there, Cameo. But the important thing to note here, though, is we need what's called a client profile form on every client served. So it's a self-certification form. It captures demographics. It captures. It's a form that's on our website. We'll provide you the link to this document. It's a one-pager. All this stuff ends with us bragging to HUD about how amazing their funds they sent us, the amazing accomplishments that our community was able to do. So this client profile form captures stuff as demographics, captures military status, head of household status, disability status. It captures an income level, that's self-certified income level. And we take all that stuff. So you get one of those filled out for every individual you serve, and that helps you put together your reporting, your monthly reporting, which then helps us go back and tell HUD about what we did. If we're not able to brag about what we did to HUD, then HUD doesn't think we did anything, right? They'd never want to send money to our community to do anything unless we're able to tell them in their reporting system. So this client profile form is where your reporting starts, and it's very important. So that's why we even underlined every client served. So if you're running a food bank, that food was purchased with the program that we're assisting, you're capturing this one pager from that individual, that family, before they leave your food bank. You're capturing this information. If you're offering case management to this family, you're capturing this information so that it can be reported. It's every individual served has to have one of these forms, and we'll get you a link to that one-page document at some point here soon. Next slide, Kimmy. Okay, section 6 of the contract talks about payments. So there's not much to talk about here. This is a high level, but Meredith is going to go into great detail on this section. What's important to note here is in your contract under section 6 is your contract number. Look in that contract, get that number out, and your client, your invoice, your reimbursement package that Meredith is going to go over has a claim cover page. And on that claim cover page, we need to make sure that contract number is typed on that line. It's very important that that number gets on there. We have lots and lots and lots of contracts right now. We are very fortunate we're able to get lots of money from HUD and get this money out to agencies just like yours. And we want to make sure that you get reimbursed and in a timely manner. So making sure you put that number on the top of that claim cover page is going to go a long way in making sure all of that happens. 2 CFR 200. So some of the folks, some of you folks that probably were around back when we had OMB circulars A87, A86. I can't remember the exact numbers. All those are gone now. So what HUD did was they took all the financial federal regs and put them into this 2 CFR 200. So 2 CFR 200 talks about the importance of agencies having procurement policies that they follow. It talks about the importance of following cost principles. It talks about the importance of financial audits. It talks about a lot. It sure does. But maybe this 2 CFR 200.302 is going to be a good section for your financial staff to go out and read. To get, you could read all of 2 CFR 200. You're not going to waste your time doing it. It's going to be a long read. It's going to be a little boring. But your financial staff should probably really read that 2 CFR 200.302 to get themselves on a path for success. Do want to note that this section of our contract does state that agencies to not request reimbursement more often than every 7 days. So submitting reimbursement claims every week is a daunting task, and I'm sure you won't do it. Most agencies do it on a monthly basis, but this part of the agreement just states that do it no more than 7 days. Again, Meredith will talk more about that, but that's kind of the highlights from that section that I'm going to discuss. So we can move on to the next section, which is general conditions and administrative requirements. So this section is where, when you get that letter from us that says we're coming out to monitor, it's going to reference stuff that comes from this section of your contracts. When you read your contracts in this section, you're going to see cost principles, 2 CFR this. You'll see CDBG, national objective stuff, 24 CFR something. So everything that these 2 sections are really important because they have lots of federal regulation stuff, and that's where we pull our areas that we're going to decide to monitor. Here. This section also talks about, see, I've got lots of papers in front of me here. Give me 1 second to flip through all of them so I can figure out what I was going to point to. Yes, so this section has the 24 CFR Part 570, which is all things CDBG. This section talks about 2 CFR Part 200, which is all things administrative and financial. This section talks about the Section 3 and how if you're going to hire new folks to help run your programs, what it is that you need to do. Let's see, and I'm going to hit a few of these city recognition amendments. There's lots of things in here, so let's real quick here. I'm going to have a separate slide for reporting and monitoring because those are important. But right now, a few highlights of financial and program management are in this section. And again, 2 CFR 200. Sorry, I sound like a broken record here, but city recognition. When in this section we talk about when you guys have any kind of media events or any kind of publicity about the things that the benefits of these programs, we need some kind of plug in there that says, with assistance from the City of Fort Wayne's Office of Housing and Neighborhood Services. It's just a thing, just some type of note that, with money from HUD. The section, we'll explain it further, but just some type of, again, we need to let the community know that the federal investments go a long way in our community. So please read that section, and when possible, include a little recognition of the city and the HUD dollars that are making this possible. Amendments. There are ways to amend our agreements. If you notice some budget categories need to be reviewed, if you notice some performance period stuff needs looked at, we have a way to amend our agreements. We don't want to make it a habit to amend all agreements because some amendments also impact the eligibility of your program. So whenever there's a time that you think that an amendment needs to be done, please contact Cameo so we can make sure we're not making an amendment that actually makes your program no longer eligible for federal funding. In this section 3 is also discussed in this area. Like I said, some of your programs mention that you will be hiring new staff. So basically, whenever you're hiring staff to work this program, what Section 3 of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968 says is that you have to market these job openings in areas that low to moderate income individuals may be searching for positions. So, you're putting the job posting maybe at Workforce One. You're putting the job posting out to sending it down to the Urban League to post on their job posting. You're putting this job posting on the college recruitment website, Ivy Tech or IPFW, their job seekers. Wherever it is you think that low to moderate income folks may be looking for employment, make sure that this posting gets included and make sure you document that that's the case. So it's an email to Urban League's job poster that has the posting. So please distribute the posting and save the documentation that you did so. Next slide, Kim. Let's talk about reporting real quick. Like I said, reporting is how we document to HUD that anything gets done. So because of the nature of this, now normally our CDBG Public Services will have quarterly reports. So that's our normal CDBG. But in this case, this is a CDBG COVID relief. So, and it's the pandemic is ever evolving, and we need to keep a little closer eye on accomplishments with these programs than normal. So what we are requiring monthly reporting. Now we'll get you a link to our monthly or to our reporting document. Basically, it's you're going to take all of the client profile forms and summarize those on a table, and then provide us maybe some narrative to go along with the numbers, something behind the numbers. But these monthly reports are going to be due on the 15th of following the month. So your first monthly report is going to be due on March 15th. So March 15th, please make sure your first report's in. Obviously, some things come up. Please let us know if there's going to be delay. But basically, when an invoice comes in, one of the first things we do is go to your file to make sure that your reporting is up to date. If your reports aren't up to date, then we can't process that reimbursement claim. Monthly reporting, very important. Let's see here, monitoring. Okay, so we're partners. We're here to help. We're here to help you guys make sure your programs are running as smoothly as possible. So what we'll do that we don't talk about in this slide is what we have is called a risk analysis. So we capture things such as a frequency of draws and whether or not are you not billing us very often? Are there errors in your invoices? Are there changes in program staff? Are there delays and errors in reporting? So what we do is we capture all that information, and that's how we decide what groups we want to come out and monitor. And also we also the size of the agreement also goes into determining who gets monitored. So what we'll do is we will send a letter, and this probably won't be till late summer. We'll send a letter out saying we're reviewing. We want to come out and monitor for these particular sections. Again, these will come from in the agreements, section 9 and 10. There'll be sections that are spelled out there. And that is when we'll come out and look at your files. So here, real quick, here's some common findings and concerns that we noticed. So there may be a disparity between actual draws and expected draws. So in your application, you told us how much funds you thought you were going to be reimbursed for on a quarterly basis. So if there's a big disparity between how much you said you were going to get reimbursed and how much you actually are, that's a red flag. Sometimes we'll see that, financial administration. So we'll see that you folks will be purchasing supplies for these programs, but you're not following your procurement policy. I mean, your procurement policy may say for purchases between $1,000 and $2,000, you get 3 quotes, whatever it is. But then we may see that you're not getting any quotes, and you're just going with one vendor. And that's all based on your policies. Program tracking, program outreach. I guess another big one is the conflict of interest statements. Sometimes it may be, depending on the circumstances, that you may need to have a staff member fill out a conflict of interest statement and have that in your file. And that's going to be, a lot of that's going to be based on what your individual agency's policies are. CDBG client profile form, not used, occasionally missing or outdated. We always have a current CDBG profile form that Cameo submits, and that's on our website whenever, probably here in about 4 or 5 months, the federal government will update those income levels. We'll make sure as soon as that new income levels come out that you're utilizing that new form. And another common finding or concerns are the invoices that are maybe not accurate. Maybe you don't do the math right. It's not on a letterhead. All these things that Meredith are going to discuss here in a little bit. So that's monitoring. That late this summer, some of you will get letters from us. We'll clearly explain what it is we need to see, and clearly what we're looking for. And expect that later this summer. Real quick here on next steps. I'm almost done talking and about ready to turn it over to Meredith. Next steps. Everyone's got a copy of their agreement. Please contact us if there are any questions. We want all those back by at least next Friday. Like I said, your performance period is already underway, so as soon as you're comfortable with that agreement, get started. There's nothing else that should slow us down. We'll as soon as we get them back, we'll try to get them all upstairs to the mayor for his signature. But the agreements have a performance period that have already started, so you don't have to wait for the mayor's signature to get back to you. He's already blessed all these agreements. We've already put them all in what we call IDIS and have HUD's blessing. So as soon as you're comfortable, move on the program, get started. A couple of your agencies, we did ask for revised budgets because we didn't award your full request. So if you're one of the agencies that we asked for a revised budget, please do so and return to us. It's probably safe for everyone to submit us a W-9. We probably, some of you folks, it's either outdated that we may have on file, or we don't have a W-9. So anything you can do to slow down any delays in the reimbursement process is a good idea, and this is one of them. So please submit your W-9s to Cameo as soon as possible. Certificate of insurance, get those to us also with that W-9 well in advance of your first reimbursement request. If there are any jobs, like we were talking earlier about new jobs that are that you are going to hire for this program, or whenever you have to replace a current position, we always want to see the job description for those, get those to Cameo. And whenever something changes, that you have a new staff member that's working the program, even if they're not being paid by CDBG, but they're assisting in the program, we need to make sure we have a copy of their resume in our file. Section 3, we talked about it earlier, proof that you advertised it in areas where low to moderate income individuals would look for employment. And with that, is there any questions? Anything that we've talked about so far that anyone would like to ask? There's a lot. A lot of the questions may be more of a one-on-one basis, but we're here and ready to answer any questions you may have about all that. Okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Meredith so she can get started on claim documentation. I'm gonna leave with this real quick note: is anytime you can spend in your office double checking, triple checking the quality of your reimbursement claims is time well spent. Once you submit it to our office, lots of eyes have to look at this stuff, and when errors come up, it just takes long. It takes a lot longer. So please, internally, double check this stuff. It's time well spent. All right, Meredith, take it away, and thank you for your help on this. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I did have a quick question. This is Sharon from Health Visions.
Sure, ask away.
Yeah, well, as far as the positions, what if we have a position that we want to fund with this grant, but we already have someone in mind? Is that allowed, or what needs to happen there? We have to go through the process anyway.
And we understand that, that maybe this program in its development is well on its way before we got involved. Provide us the job posting that you were utilizing to hire this position, and get us the resume of that person. And if there is any outreach you did, also let us know. But it sounds like you were well on your way before we got involved. And we're not here to stop that or restart that process. But going forward, now that you're under contract, if there are any positions you are looking to hire, that's when you'd show us all those advertisements and stuff. Does that answer your question, Sharon?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, Meredith, take it away.
All right, hey everybody. All right, so I'm going to talk about submitting claims. So I apologize. 1 second. Let me have some water. So I'm basically going to go from start to finish for how you fill out the claim sheets all the way through until you submit them. And I do apologize, I don't have a screenshot of this, but on our claim suite that I'm sure we will let you know what that link is out on our website. And all of these documents are in Excel, and I want to just say that because they are completely customizable. We're going to talk about the claim cover page right now, and like I said, I do apologize, I don't have an actual screenshot of that right now. But so go ahead and take accurate notes, but if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at any time. So the first thing that you're going to do that I want to highlight is that the claim cover page is going to be on your letterhead. That is very important to me because that tells me who I need to pay. The next important thing is going to be the contract number that Jim mentioned from section 6 of your agreement. So you're going to put that entire number, and I know it's long, but you're going to put that entire number there in the contract number blank. Of course, the next space is the date, so that's going to be the date that you're submitting the claim to us. The next space is program name. So if you actually have a program name, please put that in there. If you don't, that's fine. The next thing I want to mention here is across from that is total award, and that's your total award that you're receiving from us that is listed in your contract and your agreement. And then moving down those first few lines, there's a contract period. So that's going to be the period of the agreement, not your claim cover period, but the actual term of the agreement. And then the next space underneath that is called claim covers period. And that's going to be, if you're going to invoice us monthly, that's going to be the month that you're invoicing us for. So, for instance, you're going to invoice us for March. So, March 1st through March 31st, that kind of thing. So then underneath that is a box. And this is where you're going to be listing out the actual amounts for that claim based on your budget categories. And what I said before about this form being completely customizable, you don't have to use the budget categories listed there. Like we have salaries and wages, office rent, audit and accounting, printing, telephone and internet, kind of similar to what you had budgeted in your application. So whatever you have budgeted in your application, I would just kind of transfer those budget categories over to and list them out there and remove any that you're not actually using. And then that way everything just kind of flows from application through the invoice, and then it's just easily tracked that way. So speaking about that table some more, we have an amount claimed on this invoice, so that's the actual amount claimed for that period. And then also the next column over is total claim to date. So that is everything you have invoiced us for, and including the current claim, just to make that clear. And then you also put your budget lines in there is the next column over, and then in the very last column is balance remaining, and that is actually a formula. Do not touch that. That's based on the formula that's being calculated in the table. And then after that, you'll have.
Question.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Excuse me, sorry. Can you show this document?
Yeah, are we supposed to be able to see this?
No, I do apologize. I didn't have. Is there a way we can pull that up really quick? I apologize. I had a snafu. I updated the slides and then I don't know what happened. They must not have saved or something, or I saved them in a completely different spot. But anyway, we're going to get that pulled up here so that way you can see what I'm talking about.
Or can you email it out so we can reference it on our own?
Yeah, I'll be sending out a lot of documents. We're going to be sharing the screen just shortly.
Yeah,
give me a second.
Yeah, 1 second. So sorry about this. Thank you, Cameo. All right, everyone. Okay, so here, get closed. 1 second. All right, so like I said here, this is completely in Excel. So here, once you have this completely filled out, you'll print it out on your letterhead, like I said before. There's the contract number. You're going to put that whole contract number from section 6 right here. And then, date that you're submitting it to us. And these are generally due the 15th, like if you're going to bill us monthly, they're due the 15th of the following month, just the same as your monthly reporting is due. So normally these come in tandem to Cameo. You'll have your reporting that you need to submit as well as this claim. And then here is where you'll put the program name, if you have one. If you don't, that's fine. You don't have to fill this in. And then here, you'll have your total award, and that's based on your agreement. So you'll put that award amount here. And then here is your contract period, and that's also from the agreement. So you'll put the total, like the full term of the agreement there. And then here's your claim covers period. And that's, like I said, if you're going to be billing us monthly, it'll be for that month, February, March, whichever. Okay. That's a fill. Okay. All right, so down here are these budget categories that I was kind of speaking of earlier. So this budget category section here, like I said, this is customizable. You know, I know that we kind of looked over you guys' applications earlier this week, and you know, some of these things don't even pertain to what you're doing. You know, some of you guys, you're just doing salaries. So the rest of these are, you know, moot. So you could just, you know, delete them out of here, or you know, or you just want to put in, like, maybe you have a budget category that's not even listed here. You can just enter that. So go ahead and customize this to what you need. And then here in C, amount claimed on this invoice, you know, that's the current claim. And then here in D, total claim to date, that's everything that has been claimed plus the current invoice. Okay. And then you'll list out your budget amounts here for each of these categories. And then here in balance remaining, like I said, that's an Excel formula, and that's what's going to calculate over here. So don't worry about, just make sure you don't rewrite over the cell, because it is just calculating for you. And then your preparer will sign this. Usually it's a CFO, sometimes it's the president, it's you know, leadership, a decision-making person, that kind of thing, who would be signing this date, and then their title. And then the bottom part of this is just for us here at the office to get it processed and everything. Okay. All right. All right, so moving on from there, can we get back to go here, unshare? Okay, do apologize, I'm unsharing really quick, and then just go to here. Oh, JK.
Oh, how do we?
Help me.
It's all this new technology we have.
Did you want to start here?
Yeah, we'll start here, exactly. Yep, so now we're actually going to go on to like the other sections of the, I don't think we're sharing. Yep. All right, yeah, now we're going to go on to the other sections of the claim. And, I think we just need slideshow.
I'm sorry, trying to think.
All right, awesome. All right, thanks for your patience with our my issues. Okay, so going forward, so one of the first tabs on that claim suite is for salary items, and what I wanted to say about these are, so here you can kind of see there is, like, this is a screenshot of what you're going to be filling out more than likely. Like I said, we did go over your applications, and it looks like most everybody's going to be doing like an hours breakdown for their salaries. And so what I want to talk about this is, so you'll be filling out this claim cover page here for the salaries. And I'm just drawing a blank, so sorry. And so you'll put your, you'll put your budget cost type in, so that'll just be salaries and wages, the title, the employee. I apologize, can I just do this? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Okay. And, you know, the employee's name, their hours paid by the grant, which most of you already have that calculated out, what their salary and wage are, so like their hourly rate here. And then it'll just automatically calculate here in F based on D and E here. So it'll just calculate out over here. So just making sure that those are calculated properly helps me a ton. You know, for the backup portion of this particular slide, you're going to need to submit your payroll report showing the total salaries and wages paid during the period. In addition to this, if the position is funded by multiple funding sources, please submit an hours tracking sheet with the hours to be paid by the grant. And I got an example of that here in a little bit to show you. But I do want to make note that the total hours worked doesn't include the holiday pay, doesn't include holiday hours, paid time off, or any fringe benefits. So we're just looking at direct service hours to be reimbursed for these. All right, so what I want to note here is this is just this little picture here is a copy of like a payroll summary, payroll report. And I really like, sometimes like if you're able to have this kind of payroll reports, that's great. But what we're looking for here is backup that shows the pay rate, like here, as well as the hours that were worked, and then also like what the gross wages were. Like I said, this would be sufficient as long as the position is being funded completely with the CDBG grant. If not, if the position is not being funded by, or is being funded by multiple grants, a separate hour sheet must be submitted noting the amount of hours to be claimed by the CDBG grant. And here you can see a sample justification spreadsheet that one of our other subrecipients is using. So you have here, like just titled it, that have the employee's name, that the pay period that was worked, the total hours worked, their hourly wage, and then everything just calculates out. And then you can see here, this particular one uses a percentage, but in your case, you're probably just going to have an hours billed to the CDBG grant. That could be 10 here for that pay period, and then what is actually total going to be billed to the grant here. And this amount is the same amount. In this case, for this person, they earned 805. So that is the amount that's going to be listed on the summary page back here on this detailed expenses for all salary items. That's the amount I'm going to be checking is listed here when I go to review that the math all foots and that everything matches out basically. If that's something that helps you, that's great. This is another format that I like. And again, they just put they have a timesheet. The person has, they put the employee, the pay period. In this instance, the subrecipient also uses a percentage, but you would just put, CDBG, the amount of hours per grant period. And in this instance, they worked 5.25 hours towards the CDBG grant. And so like that would be sufficient hours documentation. And again, like these are important notes. If wages change during the reporting period, like if you give, if there's a retro or if there's a raise or a pay increase, please submit written explanation noting the wage change and the date the wage went into effect. Because when I calculate everything out, if there's not adequate notes and it doesn't all match, I'm going in and trying to calculate, and if I'm like, wait a second here, if something doesn't make sense, that's not, like this wage doesn't equal, like this wage rate times the hours doesn't equal this amount over here, I'm going to be looking to see, hey, did they get raises? Was there a retro? What changed in their pay rate? So, and then going forward, like also make sure that all amounts are calculated correctly across all the sheets. So that's the claim cover sheet that I showed you before, the claim cover page that we talked about in the beginning, and then also the detailed expenses sheet, like what I showed you at the beginning of this slide for the salaries. And then please note accurately all amounts applied to the CDBG grant if only a portion is to be paid by the grant. That's really important to make notes going, from one page to the next, so that way everything is just easily tracked all the way through. And then that way I'm not trying to sit down and figure out what makes up that number and how that number was calculated. All right, and then there are other documentation for all items, and then there's also a mileage tracking sheet. And the expenses for all items sheet is, this is what it looks like here. And so same thing, so budget category, supplies, printing, something to that effect. Who you paid, what it was for under description, the check number, if you actually cut a check and the like, and then, what actually you're claiming for this invoice will be listed here. And so a couple of you guys on your applications mentioned that there would be rent. And what I'm going to need to see to verify that we're being charged rent properly is a copy of the lease stating the rate that you guys signed with the last the landlord. And then also, same thing here, if the CDBG grant is only paying for a portion of the rent, please submit an internal tracking sheet showing that the rent breakdown as well as proof of payment for the entire rent expense. So in this instance, for example, the CDBG portion of the rent was $336, but the total amount paid for rent was $7,200. In this instance, the subrecipient would submit a breakdown similar to the right. So this is like a breakdown of sorts. So for the monthly rent, our portion happened to be $333.69. But the full amount of the rent that they paid to the landlord was $7,289.59. So this is sufficient to show our portion, but then we'll need proof of payment showing that the full $7,200 here was actually paid. And then there's all other items like I said, for supplies, printing, if you're contracting out a service, all other items we're going to need to either see a receipt or an invoice. Again, please note that if just a portion of the receipt or invoice is to be paid, make a note exactly how much is going to be applied to the CDBG grant. And then I would definitely want to see proof of payment. So if, for instance, you bought something from Amazon and all you have is your order, and it doesn't actually list out that it was purchased by this credit card or whatever have you, I want to see a bank statement or a credit card statement with a star highlighting that particular expense, so that I'm like, okay, here's the expense, and then I'm going to look at the bank statement and I'm going to say, oh, this is where they charged it, where it left the bank. So that's my proof of payment. If you actually wrote a check or cut a check to that vendor, I want to see that check copy. So that's for all other items. And then we actually do also have a mileage tracking sheet here, similar to the others. And so clearly budget category is going to be mileage, who you paid, what it was for, the mileage, the charge per gallon, or your mileage rate, your mileage reimbursement rate, and then it'll just calculate here in F. And then just a few things on this. For proof of payment to show that it was someone purchased it or got reimbursed, I want to see that payroll reimbursement form where you actually reimburse the employee for the mileage. If you have mileage logs, I definitely want to see those. And then also, if the mileage to be, again, I just can't reiterate enough how important notes are to me to processing your invoices timely, to make sure that all amounts are listed properly. So if to be paid by multiple grants, submit a mileage justification sheet similar to down here, where they, their reimbursement rate was 55 cents a mile. They did it for this time period. Here's the mileage to be claimed by CDBG. And then here's the dollar amount, which clearly they just have a formula listed there. So this amount should match the mileage listed here under claim amount. And that's all I have as far as like a claim, like processing a claim. Are there any questions? Because I know I went over that very quickly. Hopefully I didn't put anybody asleep.
Was a comment?
Oh, we got a comment. Yeah, we're going to be emailing out links. All this stuff's on our website. So we're going to be emailing a link to we talked about that client profile form pretty heavily. That's going to be, you're going to see that. This suite of documents, the claim cover page, the backup of salary, the mileage log, all that stuff's going to be in an Excel suite that we're going to email you as well. So we will get all that stuff emailed to you here real quick. Anyone else? Then again, we'll also have a link to this recording so that if you have some staff that it's important for them to listen to this, they'll be able to. This PowerPoint will be out on the website as well. you have our numbers and our email addresses. So if there's any questions that do come up, please feel free. Cameo is a good resource for lots of this stuff, but please just email us with any questions you may have. And with that,
I have a couple really quick questions just because we have gone through audits before with our federal grants. So I just have a few questions based on the slides. The policy for outreach that you tend to see concerns with, I was a little confused on that. We don't have a specific policy on outreach. We do a lot of outreach. So what have you seen in the past that has raised red flags?
I think that, yeah, and all programs are kind of different. So I would say we do want to see, I think, yeah, one of those, we want to see that our programs are that our folks that we are funding are reaching out properly or reaching out sufficiently enough. We don't want to make sure that all these programs kind of come with you're funding an expansion or a new program. So that's kind of how all these things go about, that you're funding a new program or it's an expansion. That's kind of the underlying notion with all this stuff. So it's kind of like we just want to see, we could ask when we come out to monitor, what's been your outreach materials. And we want to see that you had something. So it wasn't like you just were enrolled with the program just to help the clients you already help. That you actually, did you, and I'm just blanking of how you go, some great ways to go spreading the word about this program offering. Maybe it's they're getting flyers to the neighborhood health clinics. Maybe you're getting flyers to super shots. We're seeing stuff, that shows that you're trying to market the program and get that increase. So I don't have any exact specifics. That slide was taken from, we've used that for years and years over and over again. So I can't actually point to any specific ones, but basically we're just looking that you have something and that you're sticking to it. Good question.
Do you need time and effort reports for the staff?
I'm sorry, Paige, I missed that. My bad.
Yeah, do you need time and effort reports for the staff? So like for our federal grants, we have time and effort reports that the staff have to fill out each month that show percentage of times in each programs. It looks like that was kind of covered in the financials, but I just want to make sure you don't need any additional. It sounds like, is that a time feed? Is that what we always, if it's when we go to reimburse staff and salaries, in your application, you told us how many hours you're going to be billing towards our program. So we definitely want to see timesheets that show hours that you're billing to the program. That's part of that reimbursement claim. So yeah, whatever your system calls it, yeah, a timesheet that keeps track of these hours that are dedicated for this program is something we definitely want. Okay, yeah, these are in addition to the timesheets. So I can email. Ours is a little different because we have specific federal funds that are going to zip code specific areas, and these dollars are going outside of that specific zip code area. So we aren't double dipping, and just want to make sure that we get the documentation, and I want to know that I'm getting the right documentation prior so that I'm not scrambling 6 months from now. Yeah, it's, and that's a good, if there's ever any questions about, okay, here's what our timesheet looks like and here's what our payroll thing looks like. It's never a bad idea if you have any questions to shoot us an example of that so we can take a look at it well in advance of an invoice, so that once the invoice hits, that means that you're already out those funds and you're waiting for reimbursement and the clock's ticking. Why not proactively send something to us and have us look at it to make sure if we have any questions about it or any issues, we can get it addressed in advance of delaying a reimbursement request. So yeah, send that along. We'll take a look at it, and I'm sure we'll be fine with it. But send it. Okay.
Anyone else got anything out there? Any other questions? Again, you can always give us a call, email us, and this recording will be on our website, and we'll send you some stuff. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend.